Hold on a minute.
Lifeboat Live. We have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics. Ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass is my partner, Mark Wages. And you know I'm happier when Mark is here. It's just, I'm glad that he gets time to spend with his family, and no begrudging that at all. I think that's awesome. He got a chance to go out and take some photos at a farm with the fam, and that's cool stuff. I love that. But
need prayers. Yeah.
I'd be lying if I told you that I didn't love it when he's here. We need some prayers for Heather. She injured her leg while out there, and yeah, just, the drill.
Yeah.
Well, prayers or positive thoughts or whatever you're comfortable with, because she could use it. And, this is the top of the food chain here at the family. You want to make sure that Heather is okay. So we have a cool topic tonight, but it's probably going to be a couple of minutes before we talk about it, because I got so much to tell you. Today, this entire weekend has just been absolutely amazing. And there's a couple of things that happened that are just poignant. Hey, DJ Daddy-O, glad you're here, brother. DJ doesn't get a chance to pop in on live feeds as much as he used to because of his work schedule, and it's just really cool when he's here. So glad to see you, bud. Brandon Taylor, I'm glad that you are here. I know that you spent some time with the new significant or soon-to-be significant other,
and I'm glad that you guys had a good time. That's awesome. But let me tell you a little bit about the weekend, people. So, I was doing a show, and there are watch shows and there are antique shows, and they're all slightly different. This was an antique show, so it's very cool because you run into a lot of people that are all interested in different things. And I've talked about this before, how there's just so many passions for so many different things. It's very, very cool. But a woman came up and she was just white as a ghost. I mean, it was just, I know I look white, but this woman looked white, like unhealthy white. And she just didn't seem quite right. And I said, well, would you like a bottle of water? You look like you're a little peaked. Maybe I could run and grab you a bottle. And she said, sure. So I ran up to the front and got her a bottle. And I came running back, and my partner was talking to her at the across the table. She was looking at a bunch of like 200-year-old pocket watches, gold pocket watches, which is what she collects. So it was kind of cool. And I'm looking at her from behind, right? So I'm seeing my partner, and I see the woman, and this is what I see, right? There's just this, like the whole body is starting to do this thing. And I said, oh, that can't be good. So I went running up and I set the bottle of water down on the table. And right as I did, she went down. And the good news is that she fell backwards. So it was right into me. And it almost looked like, I don't know, like we had choreographed it because it was just so perfect. I mean, I got there at the right time and she collapsed into me. And I laid her down sort of softly onto the ground. And after about 5 seconds, she came to and said, what the heck happened? I said, hey, lay here. We got you a bottle of water. I think you're dehydrated. She said she didn't eat breakfast, but it was an odd thing because a couple of people came up afterwards to say thank you and this and that. And one of them said, um, all of the people here have told us that you guys are just really great people, that you're really honest and this and that. And I looked at my partner. Now, I mean, I guess most people get that description, right? But I haven't. This is not a way that people would have described me,
So
right?
awesome. So
Tommy
awesome.
didn't get that kind of description, and I assure you, Brett didn't either. So it was really kind of a unique thing. And shortly thereafter, a guy came up and said, I'd like to buy a watch from you guys, and we hooked him up with a watch, and he was a vendor. He was not a customer. So he came back over a little later, and he said, and here's your money, and he counted it out. And my partner, Noah said to him, yeah, you're way over. And the guy said, what do you mean? And he said, here's what you owe us. And he made a pile of the money. And then he put all the other stuff next to it. And it was a pile of money. Like this guy had miscounted a ton of dead presidents. And the guy said, are you sure? And Noah said, no, no, I'm very, very sure. And as he handed it to him, and he said, boy, everybody was right. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, everybody here said, if you're going to buy a watch or whatever, you should probably do it from these guys because they're just really honest. And I'll tell you something, people. Um, that's a buzz. Honestly, it is. It's not something I ever expected to have happen in my life. I don't mean that. I mean, I was hoping that maybe someday that's how I would be described because that's how I would like to be described. But um, to stand there and hear somebody say that, I'm sure it was different for Noah because he's never been, where I have been. But when the person walked away, I said to him, "Boy, how cool was that?" I mean, it really is a phenomenal feeling. And when he said, there are so many people here who said you're honest. This is our fifth or sixth show. So, and I've told you in the past that we gave away a watch to a guy once. So now we do it. Now it's part of the show. So we have an entire bucket of watches that we have ready to go. So if a kid comes up, and a couple of kids came up and just freaked out that there were watches there, and the kids started talking about Rolex statistics. He was me at 12, like he knew all kinds of stuff, and he said, "Oh wow, there was a Rolex date, just a day date rather, and it's kind of the top of the food chain for Rolexes." And he said, "I'm not expected to touch it. Is it cool if I looked at it?" I said, "Put it on." You know what I mean? I don't think
Yeah.
the kid's gonna run off with it. I said, "No, put that thing on your wrist." But it was really kind of cute because he said to me, "Can I guess what the price of that is?" And I said, "Sure." And he guessed, and we'll say that he was about 16 times less than what the actual price was, and I think he almost had a heart attack. But we were able to give the kid a free watch and a couple of the other ones. And they're mechanical watches. That doesn't cost us much, but it's pretty cool stuff, and it's sort of it's beginning to kind of build a reputation. And
That kid will never
people,
forget that, though, Tommy.
no, exactly right, exactly right. And so many people said that. So many people came up and said, this is probably a kid that's going to get into watches for the rest of his life. And when people ask him when he's your age, because people ask me this every day, what made you get into watches? So it's going to be that story, and I think it was really kind of a cool thing. And
Well,
if you're just starting, go ahead, Mark.
yeah, with what you did there, though, it's not so much that he's always going to remember getting the watch, which he will, but he's also going to remember that, listen, not all society sucks. There are
Right.
more good people out there than there are bad. We just focus on the
Right.
bad. And that's,
No, and we do, right?
yeah,
That's one of the sad things is that um, if somebody out there does something really cool, and I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about some of the epic stuff that you see sometimes. It gets a 20-second deal at the end of every news story. And here's a news story that will make you feel good to end the broadcast. By now, 80% of the people watching the broadcast have already turned it off. But, here's 20 seconds about a firefighter that saved a dog or whatever the case may be. Great stuff, but nobody sees it. And unfortunately, the other end of the spectrum sells, right?
it does suck,
Um,
doesn't it? It really
it does.
does.
It
sucks.
absolutely does. But the takeaway from this whole weekend, number one, people, for all of you who sent kind thoughts and prayers, we did really well. We did way better than we thought we were going to, and that's beautiful. Keeps the whole thing going, which is great. But and again, it also proves my point that you can build up all of these terrible thoughts in your head, which I told you, right, is never a good thing. And I may be able to advise you of these things. Doesn't mean I can do them myself. And I was really struggling because I thought we're not prepared for this. We didn't do this right, and I was really in a bad place. And thank God, it was just a great show, and it shows you that the worst case scenario is never what happens. It really isn't, even though when you build it up in your head. But the takeaway from the show this weekend for me really was: I don't care where you are. I don't care what your reputation is. I don't care how you even view yourself. I don't think you have any idea how much that can change because where I started at, going back 7 years, to hear somebody say, well, everybody here says you're one of the most honest guys, going is just something that I'm not kidding you, people. I would have been willing to bet the rest of the time I have on this globe that no one was ever going to say that about me. And I don't care how far down the rabbit hole you have fallen, you can hit the brakes and you can get back out of it. And that's really sort of the takeaway from this weekend. And it was absolutely nothing less than a beautiful thing. By the way, Joseph Burbo says, "Hey, Wages."
Yeah.
Always nice when we get people over here from the Wages family.
What's up, brother?
I'm
Yeah.
going to say this a couple of more times because I think it's essential. Thank you to Marf, the people over at Marfugal, to Marf and to Dex. Really, really appreciate everything that you've done for the boat. It has been a real shot in the arm. If you
Yes.
look, oh, no pun intended, right?
Yeah.
But it now says 2,800, which is a very cool number. We are rapidly approaching the 3,000 mark, and we'll have to do something epic
Yep.
for the 3,000 show. But you know what, people? If you do the right thing, good things happen. If you don't believe that, give it a try.
Hey, you did the right thing this weekend, and look what happened.
Right?
You're
I mean, honestly.
it's you're paying it forward, and you're paying yourself forward at the same time. It really does. That's the we always talk about the bad stuff coming back and biting us, but we never talk
Yeah.
about the good stuff that comes back to us either. And
Good point.
and it
It's
does.
the truth.
It both happens. So yeah.
No question. So to the Marfugal family, and if you're here from the Marfugal family, we really are glad that you're here. Been some great people that have come over, great comments. I've got some great emails, so we're blessed.
Yeah.
We really are. And I'll tell you what, if you're not watching Marfugal, how did you get here in the first place, right? I feel like
Yeah.
everybody here is watching Marfugal, but if you're not, get over there and check them out because I promise you're not going to.
I feel that way
not
about
gonna
my
regret
channel
it. It's
too.
great stuff.
You know?
really, really, really good stuff.
People over on my channel, it's the same thing. I feel the same way. And anybody out there that has channels, please do what we're doing right here, because we do forget that we just assume people are watching the bigger channels. That's not always the case. So, as much as they supported us, we want to give that right back to them because they deserve it. Number one, we would have never been watching them.
Right.
And that's the whole key there. And we know that the big red button ain't going to push us out all the time.
No,
It's just not
no,
going to happen.
absolutely. Good point, too. And Aaron Jones says, Tommy, do you sell watches online? How could I find them? I would love to support and get a watch. Do me a favor. Reach out to me and send me an email and I'll talk to you. And there's been a couple of other people recently who have done this. The cool thing about watches, there was a book written once. I'm trying to remember who did it, but he was a recovering addict, and he said the very first thing he bought was a watch, and the reason was time meant nothing to him when he was an addict, and it was sort of this thing that said from here on out, I'm never going to waste any time, and I kind of thought that was a cool thing, and I've shared that story before, but someone on the boat recently has reached out to me, and they're going to hear from me very briefly after the show because they're getting ready to celebrate a anniversary of sobriety coming up, and we're going to get them a he said, I'd really like this kind of watch, but I know it's out of my realm. If you're in this family, nothing's out of your realm. So drop us an email. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you. So I want to talk about the subject matter of tonight. If you saw the thumbnail, I think this is a great one. And I want to credit my partner for this because it's something that Mark, thought up. And this is a reality, people. You can do an awful lot of research, and it's very easy to find how regardless of whether or not, thank you, Equus. I'm glad that you're here and I appreciate you. I get more out of this than you do, I promise you. I am lucky that you all are here. One of the coolest things, I'm sorry, if you do some research, one of the things that you're going to find out, and really quickly, is that as the seasons change, so do the moods. And I don't mean for addicts. Don't get me wrong. It's way worse for us. But for everybody, Brandon Taylor, Brandon, thank you so much. I appreciate Brandon does this every single day, people.
Yeah.
He says hit that like button. You know what, Brandon? You could say that without donating, brother. I
Yep.
love you. I really do. But I just want you to know, you could also tell everybody here you don't have to feel like you need to do that. I love you and I really do.
Let me say something here about some inside baseball just for a second.
Sure.
Guys, I'm working on setting up memberships, okay? That's something we're working on. That way, we're trying to figure out what kind of perks you guys want and that kind of thing. So if you guys have any suggestions for perks that you guys would want, if you join channel membership, please let us know. That way we can try to make that happen. And what's really cool about the membership, something they've added recently, you can actually donate memberships to people. So
Cool.
you can actually say, hey, I want to donate 5 memberships, and it'll go to 5 random people. So or I think you could choose also, but
Right.
but that's something that's really cool, and it makes a difference. It really does. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Squirrel just knocked me in the face with her tail. Squirrel stole the show last night. If you happen to catch the show, Squirrel was all over the place last night. She wanted to photobomb the entire episode, and looks like, yep, tonight she's going to do the same thing. That's great, Squirrel. But if you start to look into this, people, regardless of whether or not you are an addict or whether or not you're just living life, as the seasons change, so do people's attitudes and so do people's moods. And I think this is important to look into. I really do. We haven't talked about it before, but if you start looking at the reasons that this stuff changes, it talks directly to what we talk about every day on the lifeboat. Right? This is an affirmation of the things that we say, not the no, let's be honest, it really is the same thing. It's the no, without a shadow of a doubt, we're right. So pay attention. Sorry, it is. But as it starts to get colder, what happens? Think about it. The weather changes, right? The length of the days kind of shorten, and in doing so, we get more nighttime. But across the board, people spend more time inside. Stone cold fact. When you spend more time inside, you spend less time with points of connection. Plain and simple, right? As you cut down on the points of connectivity that you have and the connections that you have, people get depressed. Should this be a shocker? I mean, we've said this before on the boat. If you study a little anthropology, right, you can go back and you can study all of the different types of humans that didn't make it, right? Cro-Magnon, other parts of our ancestors that are no longer walking the planet with us today. And anthropologists will tell you the reason that they are not here um, is because they weren't social. They died out because they were not social animals or not social humans or not social, whatever you want to call them. Um, Once we began working with one another and relating to one another, then amazing things began to happen, right? Society, crawled out of a group of people hanging out. Now you had a society. Now you had organization. Now you had government. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of people here who might say that's not such a great thing. Uh, Look, there are problems with our government across the board. There are problems with every government. But the fact that we've been able to organize ourselves, is something that, oh, is something that has kept us going. It really has. And so it makes perfect sense that as the seasons begin to change and you begin to withdraw slightly from society, not by design, but it's just one of those things that happens. We spend more time inside. And, people say, well, football season comes. I spend a lot more time watching football. I'm really into that. Great. That's great. Really is. I got nothing against that. It's not for me, but I got nothing against that. The trouble becomes, are you withdrawing from society? Because each time you withdraw from those points of contact that are a daily part of your life, nothing good is going to happen. I promise you. And this is not the lifeboat, tossing out advice. These are stone cold facts. And that's tough on everybody. We are not everybody, right? We've established this before. There are the normies, right? There are the people out there that don't worry about this stuff. They still fight depression in the wintertime. If you look at places on this planet that experience, full days of darkness, right? There are places on this planet that, for months on end don't see the sun, which is odd in a flat world, isn't it? Sorry. Gotta take a shot at the flat earthers.
Yeah.
I love you all, I really do. But if you start to really think about that stuff, how is that there are places anyway? So if you're in a place that is dark 24 hours a day, depression really begins to set in. And people always say it's because, when you don't see the sunlight, you don't see people.
Yep.
What really happens is the points of connectivity that you normally experience get really, really cut down. So as we begin to push into the next season, I don't care what part of the country you're in, but as we start to get into the next season, there are a couple of things that are going to happen. Number one, the days are going to get shorter, right? It's a fact. Happens every year. Number two, we're going to spend a lot more time inside. We're not going to be out as much. We're not going to be having the same number of points of contact that we normally have. That's going to be a problem, right? Especially for those of us who have been battling the demons of addiction, right? The disease of addiction. Throw on top of that the toughest damn season in the world for addicts, right? As we get into the holiday season, there are things that happen to people who have been addicted to drugs, right? Let's be really honest, no matter how you slice it, Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's have an ability like no other time of the year to say, reflect back all the way to the time that you were 5 and you were so excited that Santa was coming down the chimney. And we do it every year, whether it's something that you do consciously or unconsciously. Every time Christmas rolls around, you think of those holidays that were just amazing and you were waiting for whatever, right? A Barbie, a big wheel, whatever, the Rough Rider Daisy BB gun.
Yep.
Your eye out, right? Okay. These were epic things from our youth. And you got so excited about it. Why then does it depress you to look back on it? It depresses you to look back on because, number one, Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's remind us of our mortality. We look at kids who are now nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, whatever, and we see ourselves and we go, good Lord, how did we get from this to this, right? All of a sudden, the fact that you're 52 feels like 152, right? How far removed am I from waiting on Santa? And these really are the things. Deborah, better late than never. We're not upset with you. Welcome to the lifeboat. But you can get very, very upset right? As you start to look back, you think about wasted years, you think about people that have passed, right? You think about the times that you spent with people that you really loved who are no longer here. These are the toughest months in the world for those of us addicted, right? And I say addicted, not previously addicted or any of that. I'm a heroin addict, people. I
Yeah.
haven't done heroin in 7 years. It doesn't change the fact that I'm a heroin addict,
Right.
right? That doesn't go away. It really doesn't, right? Drug use goes away. But if you believe that your addiction goes away, we'll be here to help you get sober. And I
Exactly.
promise we're not going anywhere. And when you relapse, we will be here to help you. But that never goes away, people. Don't lose sight of that. The first time that you really believe that you have got it beat and that it's in the past, you're going to use again. Noise Opera. I love you, man. He said earlier, he found this through Chase the Heat. I'm so glad that you did.
Yep.
And I'm so glad that we have been a part of the transformation in you because you really have come a long way, my brother. You really have. I'm so glad that you're here. I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Ain't that neat
It's
though, Tommy? Isn't that neat?
It is
We've been here long enough now that we've been able to really see some like real growth with people,
amazing, right?
and we see it no more in anybody but ourselves. Also,
No question.
I mean, it's you guys could go back and look when we first started, and then again when we first started, I was already 10 years into recovery, but you can see how I still grow. So we never stopped going
Oh,
that
yeah.
way. So
Yeah.
just want to point that out. Yeah.
Full of Hope says, no, I have no good memories of Christmas. Everyone drunk fighting when I was a kid. The only thing I came to enjoy was the excuse to drink a lot. Full of Hope, I'm so glad that you said this. I really am. Because I used my childhood, and maybe that was the wrong thing to do. Maybe what I should have said was when you get into the holiday season, it dregs up memories of Christmas past, right? They don't have to be good ones. I have a lot of memories that were really fantastic. They may be horrible memories, but either way, as you get into those holidays, right, it's going to bring up the memories from the past, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. As a child, my memories were idyllic. Honestly, I could not have asked for more. But then I get into the time where I think about my kids and their Christmases and dad being wasted. And I go from, and again, it's the ringer, boy, it was so great when I was a kid. Why was it? Because my parents were so good and I was a piece of crap when my time came. And the best thing in the world is if you can sort of move through that, right? But that's a hard thing to do, isn't it? We do very well most of the year. Statistically speaking, more people are going to relapse and use drugs and alcohol in the holiday seasons in astounding numbers, right? So we're going to start talking about this in September. It's not something we're going to talk about every day, but we're going to visit the hell out of this so that when the ghost of Christmas past comes calling, and whether it is reminding you of people fighting in your youth and Christmas being an excuse to drink, or the greatest Christmases in the world, but it reminds you of just how old you've gotten, regardless, it's not going to hit you.
In the
It's not going
side.
to surprise you. Yeah, it's not going to surprise you.
And it
When it
works.
comes on, you're going to go, boy, Tommy's been talking about this in September.
And it works, like you just said.
It does.
It doesn't matter if you had a really horrible childhood or a really good one, because if you had a really good one, and now you went through a part of your life where it wasn't so good, now you're comparing that to what you experienced before, and that puts you into a little bit of depression because man, I wish I had that again. And then the reverse of that's true, right? If you had a really really bad childhood, then that automatically puts you in a bad state of mind. So I mean,
Correct.
it's just relating all that, and it's a hard thing at this time. I mean, so right now, guys, when the sun just really starts, not staying up as long, it really does. And I'll talk more a little bit, but go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. First of all, you're not interrupting me. Knock that off, man. Knock that off. But Mark's 100% right. This is the season that is going to affect you. If you're in sobriety, it's going to affect you one way or the other. Honestly, nobody says the holiday seasons come around and I just feel so much better, right? If you hear somebody say that, they've probably never been addicted to drugs. These next 3 months are tougher on addicts, and this is statistics. I'm not making this up. These are the toughest time of year for those of us addicted to drugs. So let's know it's coming. Let's be very aware. Hey, squirrel. let's be very aware of the fact that this is coming so that we're not blindsided in any way, shape, or form. It really is important. And I think it's a great subject for a lot of reasons because the reality of life for us is that the seasons mean different things to addicts than they mean to regular people. Now, that is not to say that regular people don't struggle at the holidays. They do, right? This is something that affects everybody on the planet.
Yes.
If you look at, we're not going to use the S word, but you know which one I'm talking about. And those numbers are considerably higher during this time of year. The people who decide they no longer want to be on this planet and they're going to do something about it, that happens more often in the holiday season than it does at any other time. And for those incarcerated, guaranteed. If someone's going to decide that they're not going to be here anymore, that's when it's going to happen. And that was my cat who decided that
turn the volume on, didn't she?
Squirrel did not want this muted and just thought she would walk across the keyboard because that's who my cat is.
Give that cat some Ritalin or something. Man.
Is she not something? Right? If there's ever been a cat that needed a little Ritalin, honestly, Squirrel gets really angry if I'm gone all day, and then she's just going to make me pay for it for the rest of the night. So I have been gone for 2 consecutive days, so I am really, really going to pay.
That was awesome, Leisure, by the way. He says,
Tommy Bird says,
yep.
What did Leisure say?
He says, I have the lifeboat.
There
so,
you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tommy Bird says, I sure miss my mom, especially at Christmas. She loved Christmas. She always wanted white Christmases like she had when she was a kid, and we don't have one for a decade till her last one. Well, God bless that she had the last one.
That's awesome.
How
Yeah.
cool is that, honestly? Yeah. And you know what? Another great example, people. The first Christmas without my dad I didn't enjoy it. I really didn't. Bottom line, I didn't. I just it felt like the month of December were 31 days that I just could not get over the fact that he wasn't there. And that it is what it is. And it is so much a part of life in general, right? But we're not life in general. We're really not. And I don't know that we ever will be. I can only speak for me. And I'm 7 years out of the funk. But it's the hardest time of the year for me. And I'm going to start talking about it now so that if in the month of November everybody goes, boy, Tommy just doesn't really seem to be on his game, then I'm going to have people reach out and go, hey, you remember talking about this? You know, you're going through this because it's the holiday season. People, communication, right, is our best weapon. It really is.
It really, 100% it is. And it's like
100%.
Like you're saying, you know, your dad isn't there anymore, and how it made you feel. It's much like what we do here in the sense that your brother, your mother, your sister, your kids are all feeling the same thing. So
right.
what do? You guys come together, and you're helping each other, and you're realizing that, you know, your dad wouldn't want you to be unhappy.
No.
It doesn't make it any easier saying that, okay?
No,
but
you're right.
That's what we have to work at, and the same thing goes with our addictions, guys. You know, that's why we come here. We're here because we're all going through the same stuff or similar stuff or what have you. We understand each other is what I'm trying to say. So when it does come to those times of year like the holidays, we're able to understand at a different level than what somebody that hasn't been through what we've been through can.
Yeah.
And we got a lot.
And you know, if you just look at this. Zen Wen says, same here, Tommy Bird. All of the holidays make me sad now that my mom is gone. Joseph Burrow says, Burbo, sorry. Lost both of my parents within the last few years. Still hasn't hit me yet. If you go through the comment section, every single person here is talking about how this time of year affects us all in a very serious way. Now, I realize we're in September, right? Close to the end of it. But if you wait to talk about this until you're in the middle of it, Christine Stone says, we sometimes feel isolated during the holidays, even though we are surrounded by people. Sometimes being surrounded by people makes you feel more isolated.
Yes.
You understand? When I talk about connections and points of connections, people, I don't just necessarily mean that you're in a room full of people. I mean that you're connecting with someone in a way where you can say to them, you know what, Mark, I'm dying. My dad not being here, everything that's going on, the pressure, I'm dying. I'm having a really bad time, brother. I can reach out to Mark. I'm not going to lie to you, people. I had a really bad day after last night. Last night I came home. I'm just gonna tell you, it's all good. I came home last night riding a high. I really was. It was a great show. I was really excited. We made money. We sold watches. Life was great, right? And I was stressed about it, so the relief of it was palpable. And then I came here and I did a show, and I got more emails last night on the show we did last night than I had gotten in a long time. Like it was noticeable. And a lot of people who reached out and said, that might be the best show you ever did. Now I hear that a lot because I'll say something that affects just one person in a very, serious way. For whatever reason, a lot of you said that last night. So I went to bed really fired up. And what a day, right? I was just riding it. And then I woke up this morning, there was 140 views. And that's about as bad as it's been in a really long time. And I reached out to Mark and just told him honestly, I'm like, man, I feel like I got kicked in the stomach.
Yep.
Riding this, and Mark, as best friends do, put everything in perspective. And then even went back and said, you and I had the same conversation after a show I did a while ago, which is embarrassing, but it's the truth.
No, it's
right?
true.
So, yeah, you lose perspective is a really good thing. It really is. Yep. But you could be in a room full of people and be alone. When I talk about points of connection, I'm talking about something like I got with my partner,
right?
Where I can, even if it seems like this is really weak stuff, right? I got no right really being that upset about this. This is just stupid. But I don't feel stupid telling Mark that.
Right.
You understand?
It's not stupid. Really, it's not stupid if it's making you feel a certain way. It's not stupid at all. Who cares if it sounds stupid? It's not stupid to you. And that's
right.
That's,
no, to me it's epic.
Right.
It really. But after talking to Mark and I really ended up feeling a whole lot better. Blue Dazzlebug says yes at Christine Stone. Yes, I feel horribly isolated since I lost so many. I see family, and it makes me sad. I'm so happy for them. My prayers are that they realize that they have so much. Here's the thing, people. It's a perfect example, right? We feel we're happy for the people around us. We really are, right? It's perfect for them. But in the process of being happy for people around us, it really sort of brings us back into the fact that we're not where we want to be, and it's painful and it's hurting.
Well, you know what though?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and when it comes like the Christmas thing, and even Thanksgiving, we wouldn't know what the bad feels like if we didn't experience the good. So there's a reason why Christmas and the holidays are such a tough time for a lot of people, because they did experience something that was extremely awesome stuff. So to expect that to happen every year after year after year, it's just not going to happen.
It's not.
And we fight that.
And sometimes that alone is painful.
Yes, and we fight that without even without addiction. You fight that,
right?
But yeah.
But Blue, you came here. This is what I'm talking about right here. Proof positive, right? Blue comes here and she says how she feels. She shares it with everybody right here on the boat. It's points of connection. And Seven Sun says, beautifully said, Blue. He didn't say that because it didn't affect him. He didn't say that because he didn't feel exactly what you were saying. He said that because you articulated the things that he feels. And that, people, is the takeaway, right? This is what we need from today's show. I want everybody here to realize that if you're hurting, thank you, Noise Opera. I love you, brother. If you're here and you're hurting, I want you to be here and telling people, RAL, 1 year clean this week.
That's something to celebrate. Heck yeah!
Everybody hear that?
Heck yeah!
365 days.
Let's get a 1 in the chat for RAL for that. That's awesome.
Can we get a 1 in the chat? Right? Is that possible? Can we do a 1 in the chat, because that is really as cool as it gets. I mean, that is why we're here, is it not?
100.
That is the kind of thing that we're all waiting for, that we're all celebrating. That is just amazing. Congratulations, my brother. I could not be any happier for you. I really could not. So People, you understand the purpose of everything that we're saying here tonight, right? We want you to know in advance. If you know something's coming, it is so much easier to deal with. What and take this from somebody that spent a lot of time in prison. Thank you, Brandon. Um, if a human being, and they've studied this, if you say to somebody, I'm going to come in today and I'm going to hit you with a baseball bat for 15 minutes. And then I'm going to hook you up to an electric shock machine for a half an hour. And I'm going to do this every day for the next 4 months. The person will get through it. If you do the same thing to a guy right next door and you say to him, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do the exact same thing. And you know what? We might stop someday, but we might not. We might just do this for the rest of your life. That person will go insane.
Yep.
The person who has to endure it and knows exactly how long they have to endure it, they'll get through it. It's been studied. Human beings can get through anything if they know how long they have to endure it. It's when they don't know how long the torture is going to last that it drives them insane. We have October, November, December, right? January 1st, everything seems to change. It's going to get ugly in the next couple of months, people. It is. That's what happens to us as addicts. It's going to get hard, right? We know how long we have to endure it. That's a bonus. The other thing is, if you endure this in silence, it's because you want to, right? There is nothing, no one here is ever going to do anything but love you and tell you that they're here for you if you come here and you say you're hurting. And no different than me reaching out to Mark and saying, last night's show killed me. I feel like nobody saw it, right?
Yep.
That got fixed because I reached out to somebody that I know care and I told them exactly what it was.
Yep.
I want everybody here to know that the lifeboat is going to be here through the holidays, and it's not going to be easy. It isn't ever easy. The holidays are tough on us. They will be so much tougher. If you do not come here and tell people how you're feeling, then the holidays are going to be really tough. If you're telling people exactly how you feel, you're going to be really surprised at how much you can endure. And that's just a fact. It really is.
Yep.
Right?
No judgment, Charlie says.
No judgment. Thank you, Charlie.
Yep.
Charlie's so great.
It just gets it, don't they? I mean, they really.
Right. You know, and Charlie's just,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you could think of Charlie as Old Faithful or Big Ben, right? The sun is going to rise and then it's going to set, and Charlie's going to be here and he's going to leave comments after the show.
It's funny you say that because he wasn't here at the beginning and everybody was asking. That's what you get, guys. Seriously, people know when you're not here when you're here all the time, and people care and they start asking, "Hey, have you heard from Charlie? Have you heard from whoever?" And it's awesome.
We get that a lot. Charlie's line of work occasionally forces him to go out and work at some hours that I threw away a Christmas tree 2 months ago. You should have just held out for the next year. I mean, if you had that baby there all the way until July, what's the point? You should have kept that thing going.
That's a good one, Major. Lifeboat lifestyle. Yeah. There you go.
I like it.
Yep.
Well, there's a shirt waiting.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
We are one big family, Brandon. That's awesome. Love you, brother. Yeah. Brandon Teller, I've always joked that my friend group is really small, but on the boat, I didn't. You know what? One of the things that I'm probably most proud of about the lifeboat is just how much everybody here takes care of everybody else.
Rippy. What's up, Ripper? Good to see you, bud. Yeah.
Sorry, people.
No, it's okay. Yeah, guys, and we take care of each other here, right? And while we're doing that, and I know we said this quite a bit, but when we're taking care of somebody else, we're taking care of ourselves too. Yeah, he's funny, isn't he?
Did you see the rip?
Yeah, yeah. Weird rip guy. Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome stuff.
He really is weird, isn't he? No, I'm glad you're here, Rip. Glad you're here.
Guys, if you've never seen the interview we did with Rip, was it 2 or 3 of them? I can't remember. I'm telling you, if there's anybody that can put this whole subject, not just the one we're talking about now, I'm talking about life in general, into some terms that you can understand, it is that man right there. I am telling you, man, he just hits it on the head every time. And he's got a channel too, Rip Curl Readiness, and Go over and check it. Two of them, Rip Curl Readiness and Rip Curl Readiness at the Range. Go check him out.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, he's got Benny, his dog, cracks me up. I mean, puts a smile every time.
Benny just got a new sweater. It's a seasonal thing. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool stuff.
It's pretty cool stuff, guys. So yeah, that's what we do, guys. As the boat, we know that stuff about each other because we care enough to go look and talk. And I just love that fact. And it just is. And it's not just me and Tommy and Rip and whoever else we're talking. It's everybody. You know, we got a new Brandon in here too, Brandon Johnson. I'm not sure if I've not seen Brandon Johnson before. So welcome. But yeah. And I don't know that I've met Joseph. Joseph, is this your first time here? I can't remember if I've talked in the chat or not.
I think it's his first time here, but he's obviously from the Wages World family.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I like to know where people are kind of like hanging out, and just regional, like, I don't know, is it winter where you're at, that kind of thing. I don't need to know anything, anything other than that. It's just, because it does. Listen, that's the other thing too we haven't talked about, Tommy, is the fact that we have a lot of people that live abroad, right? We got people. We got people live in UK. We got people living, and I'm going to say this for a reason, New Zealand and Australia. When it's summer for us, guess what? It's winter for them.
Yeah, Lady Fiona's over there in the winter.
Yeah, Lady Fiona. Yep, he's over there too.
Full of hope.
Yep,
on the other side of the planet as well.
So we gotta understand that, and it's actually a good thing, because when they're experiencing their downtime as far as the seasonal part goes, we're not, and then vice versa. So
Punky Blue, glad you're here. Punky Blue says it's my second time here. From Arizona. That would be a saguaro cactus that is up there right after the AZ.
Right. I'm from
Indiana. Very cool.
For anybody that know, I'm from Indiana. I'm a Hoosier, if you could even know what that is.
Hoosier. Do you know that I graduated from college? I am a graduate of the University of Indiana.
Really?
Did you know that? I am a Hoosier.
Indiana State, or is it IU?
University of.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, they have a outreach program that works through the federal government, and that's where I finished up my college. So I am a Hoosier. Yeah,
I actually did some college at IU East. It's good stuff. Yeah, it's
Jamie Lindsay. It's my birthday today.
Happy birthday!
I'm 38 and staying sober today. Good for you.
That's awesome, man. Good to see you, Jamie.
You know something? If I had done my 38th birthday sober, there is no telling where I would be right now. But I am so happy to hear that you are doing that by 35. That is awesome. Joseph Burbo says, my second time. Glad you're here, Joseph. Really glad that you're here.
Yes.
That's a true story.
Yes. I mean, honestly, and I'm telling you guys, we, as running this channel, me and Tommy, we see a whole lot of names go by there, and often
East Coast, Massachusetts. Hold on, I'll get back to that. I just didn't want to forget. Thank you, Joseph.
But just understand that when we're seeing all these names go by, we are legitimately trying to remember everybody. And sometimes we
taking notes
when we forget. But let me tell you something: there's people here that aren't going to forget that you're here, and because it's impossible for me and Tommy to remember everything. But there's always somebody here, and most likely it's going to be a group, especially if you're talking, because people are going to make connection. And on that, I would say Facebook group. That's a place that me and Tommy don't go.
Yes, rarely show up there. Sometimes for some maintenance, but very rarely.
That's a place you guys can go.
Where you guys can do what you do.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I think that proved really, really positive. I think
it's a good thing.
I think we got Steve on the line. I'll bring him in.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Yeah, but no, bring him in though.
I will.
East Coast, Massachusetts. Joseph, I grew up in the state of Vermont until I was about 18. Spent a lot of time in Massachusetts. Spent a lot of time in Southie. A lot of friends down there in Southie. Marlborough, Mass. My brother Johnny lived in Marlborough, Mass for a few years, but been all over Massachusetts. Had a lot of friends from there. People I went to college with. So, and I see T. Prada uses a term that gets used a lot in the Northeast.
Yep.
Yep. She's also from Mass. So glad that you're here, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we're all
Patriots fan. Probably a Pats fan.
Yeah, Patriots fan. Yeah, for sure. And guys, our location does affect what we do. It really does. It has a big effect on our lives, where we came from and how we brought up. And it's like if you're brought up in an urban setting versus a rural, you're going to have a totally different outlook, most likely.
Correct. And the answer to where is Johnny? He had a show he was doing this weekend. So I would imagine that by now Johnny is sound asleep. These when you do these shows, you don't realize just how bad they're going to kick the. Last night after the show was over, I'm not exaggerating, people. I went over. I had 3 mouthfuls of food, and I was asleep before 7 o'clock my time. I was really tired, and tonight's going to be an early one too. Leslie, servant of God, Leslie, I'm glad that you're here. It's good to see you.
Yep, awesome stuff, guys. And let me say this too, real quick, and we'll get Steven to talk here in just a second. Okay. We talk about, how Martha sent people over, kind of filter down through my channel, and there's a whole lot of other channels out there too that we haven't really said much about. And I've seen a lot of people come over from Paul Bagley's channel also through my channel.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't know who Paul is, please go check him out. He's got a very, very big following, and I've talked with Paul before, and guys, he's a Christian, he's a pastor, he's been on a lot of different TV shows. He does webinars all the time. Matter of fact, they're planning a trip to Israel, and they're taking a lot of the people with them. Anybody that can, do the whole thing, whatever that is. But just know, guys, that we get them from everywhere, and we appreciate it. Is what I'm trying to say. And we're trying to reach everybody we can, and we leave all the BS out of it. I don't care where you come from. I don't.
Nope.
If you're here because you want to be here, and you're here, and you're here because we're trying to help, and you guys see that. And we're going to love you no matter what. So just understand that. So don't be ever afraid to chat. If you hear from some of those channels like mine, there's people that are embarrassed to say that they came from my channel because some of the subject matter we talk about, right? I mean, that's just what it is. This is what it is. And that's okay. I'm really okay with that. But please understand, never feel like you can't say what you need to say. And we appreciate everybody from all of them. But anyway, I'm done.
Well, and I'll tell you something. Hey, I have more color today. Well, I'm happy to hear. Yeah. Well, yesterday I really was cutting it close. Like I had about 30 minutes after I got home today to get ready for the show, which was nice. And Mr. Burbo, Woodstock, Vermont, just for the record, is I grew up in the town of Woodstock, Vermont. So, which is it's a pretty well known town in Vermont because the Rockefellers all live there. So,
right.
Jamie Lindsay, we all do love you. Aaron said we love you, Jamie. We really do. We're glad that you're here. Love others, love yourself. Do to the others you would have done to yourself. All really great advice. Thank you, Leslie, servant of God. Amen. And I came over from your channel's Wages World.
Yep.
Really? We don't hear that very often. No,
I think I've talked to
people here from Wages World.
Yeah, I think I've talked to Christina
Pamela
over there.
Swan. Oh, I love it when Pamela's here.
Yep.
Good to see you, Pamela.
Hey, Steve, you're there, right?
Hey, Mark.
What's up, brother?
What do you call a dinosaur with an extensive vocabulary?
I don't know. Tell me.
Skipper.
What? What'd he say?
I was asking the skipper if he knew.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say you call him Skipper. That's kind of cold. I don't know.
I don't know.
I say a theosaurus.
You gotta love it. Gotta love it. And for those of you guys that are new, Steve is our in-house dad joke guy. So
honestly, I think I don't know what you call it anymore.
Kind of elevating a little bit. Yeah.
No, it's there's a whole new category of I mean, dad, they're when you hear a dad joke, you're always like, yeah, that's a dad joke. There's been a series of his that he's been hitting lately that I don't know, man. I don't know that you can call them dad jokes. It's really good stuff, though.
Sarah, when did that happen? I'm sorry to butt in,
Been
Tommy.
on fire. Who do we miss?
My sister could use some prayers. Her stepdaughter is no longer with us because of fentanyl.
Oh Lord. Oh, wait a second. You know what? Sarah, I am sorry to hear that.
That's horrible.
I really am. Do you
Yeah.
know how many the people? This is no joke.
We get it a lot, don't we, Tommy?
I got 4 emails in the last 2 days from people. Some were already crew members on the boat. Some have gotten here from Marfugel doing the push that they've just done. And GTSY is good to see you, Leslie, servant of God. That is good to see you.
Yep.
You know what? I'm very, very sorry to hear that. And we're hearing it every day. Honestly, I'm getting emails every single day. My brother, my father, my sister, whatever. There's a story out of Australia, out of the capital of Australia, which is Canberra, and we have several people on the lifeboat who are crew members going back to the very beginning, who are from the capital of Australia, Canberra. The other night, a gentleman who has been addicted to opiates for a long time took his own life. And when his daughter came home and found him, his 14-year-old daughter, she did the same thing.
Oh
And
my God.
the plague that this substance is causing on the planet. I know that you probably turn on the lifeboat sometimes and go, "Oh God, Tommy's talking about fentanyl again." Uh, People, I'm sorry. I don't want to become a one-trick pony. I really don't. But we're going to keep yelling about this
Yep.
until uh, people do something about it. Because if we don't, there just are not that many people who are doing it. And as we talked about last night, we have pushed this. I don't mean the lifeboat. I mean everybody that cares. Steve, all of the people that really have been beating this drum now for over a year, in some cases longer than that. It is now getting pushed into
Mainstream. It really is.
mainstream, the mainstream. And, it's not just because everybody like us are yelling about this, it's also because the stories that we're hearing about these people, who are overdosing and dying, it's affecting everybody. They're literally, it's difficult to find somebody now in this part of the world or any other where if you say, "Do you know anyone who's overdosed?" They may say no, but they know someone who knows somebody. They've heard the stories. There's nobody that hasn't been affected. Um, as we talked about last night, 900,000 people since this started, right? Look at all of the wars we've had in the U.S. and how many people we lost in each one. And you're talking about a astounding number of people, and they're lying. They're not even in the ballpark.
Right.
I would go out on a limb and say it's probably 1.6, 1.7, right?
Yep.
They're really good at shaving these numbers, though it doesn't make them look as bad as a government as they really ought to. Full of Hope says, "I hate this." I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. It sucks.
I do too.
This part of it
Uh,
sucks. And
and you know what? The only option is to keep beating the drum. It's not fun to talk about. It really isn't. But if we all take the attitude that it's not fun to talk about, next year I'll do a show and talk about how it's
Right.
600,000 people that we're losing. Because the only way this is going to stop is if we all take a little time and get a little
hey, birthday.
beat off.
But
Okay.
I want to say this to Sarah real quick.
Do.
If your sister doesn't really have an avenue to go down, bring her here.
Amen.
And I know sometimes people push against that, like in your own family and stuff. They're afraid to say, "Hey, I'm over here watching this." There's ways to introduce not just our channel, but anything positive to people. Sit down and turn it on your TV when she's in the other room or something, and let her walk in, and things like that. She'll start to pick up on that kind of stuff. Anybody will, and they'll eventually it will strike their interest, and they probably will at least give it a fair shot. But just like we're here for you, we would be here for her also.
Amen.
And it's just one of those things that we're really well at doing here. It's probably one of the best things we're good at. It's just simply being here and
Amen.
and let
It's
people.
probably a really that's a great way to say it, Mark. Right? We may not have the answers. We're always going to be here for you, though.
Yep.
Perfect example. I'm sorry if Steve is a perfect example. I heard Prague is both beautiful and cool. You should check it out. See how he spelled check. Perfect example. That's not a dad joke, right? It's different. It's a different element.
Yeah, it's just a little different.
There's
Yep.
something a little more cerebral about it. There really is. Steve, thank you for calling in, and
Yep.
all of you that donated. Number one, people don't feel like you got to do that. Come here for the rest of your life and never donate. I love the fact that you do. It's generous as heck. I love it. I really do. I appreciate it. Don't
Yes.
feel like you got to. Please, for the love of everything good, don't feel like you have to. We love you anyway. We really do. Uh, for all of you that have lost people to this damn war, and you make no mistake about it, people, you know what? We're going to lose a couple of points here from the big red button, but we're at war with that beast from the east, and
Yep.
this is their weapon of choice. And for all of the people who have been lost in this war, I'm so sorry, and I pray for you and for your families, and just keep coming back.
And
You know, if you're hurting, let us
Keep
know.
burning bullets.
that's right. That's right. 100%, Steve. And this too, you know, Sarah, I know we haven't really touched on this part of it, and I'll do it really quick because I know we're at the top. But there's a number at the bottom right-hand side of our screen, and it is for rehab, but there's also the National Suicide Prevention Line. That is always going to be there. And when things like this happen, like Tommy said, what happened to the 14-year-old girl who found her dad? You know, she just turned around and did the same thing. So when things are really that bad, especially when it's your child, you have to, and I know Sarah's probably already doing this for her sister, but if you don't have any avenues and it's in the middle of the night, you can't get a hold of somebody, please use those numbers. Please. They're always 100% always there. They're going to pick up. They're going to say, hey, where you at? They're going to get you where you need to be, at least give you the option to do so. And, you know, not only that, like I said, we all live around the world. So that means we're in different time zones. So that means at any given time during the day, night, or whatever, somebody on this boat is awake. And if you join the Facebook group and you email with me and Tommy back and forth, somebody will be there. I promise. So
I am going to be announcing. You guys don't have to memorize it now, but I'm going to be giving out a second email address for me. Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. You can use that forever. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down into two groups so that people that need help immediately will send. And if you just want to say, I love the show, or I've got an idea for a show or anything else, so that I'm going to check one first.
Right.
Something. And believe it or not, it's sober at myyahoo.com. SOBER. Sober at myyahoo.com. So, but I will tell all of you that on the next show.
okay.
Fear not.
And we'll get that in the description box too and stuff, guys. So
Yes,
that way
we
it's
absolutely will put that in the description box. Thank all of you, every last one of you, for coming here, for supporting the lifeboat, and for supporting the crew
there. Yes.
of the lifeboat, which is so much more important than any of it. Really. Leslie, servant of God, tomorrow's my birthday. So I bought some vanilla bean ice cream. I have a frozen sliced strawberries, blueberries. I'm going to pig out at midnight tonight. Be here tomorrow so we can say happy birthday to you, please. Zen, thank you so much, and we're so glad that you're here. People, we will be back tomorrow night, and by we, I mean me and my bobble-headed partner. So between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody, and thank you, because every time I start this show, I feel better at the end of it. Mark even joked about that today. He said, you know what? The crew will bring you up. It's just the way it is.
Yep.
It really is. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
and this is a cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. We love you.